Hello, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another reading vlog where I'm gonna be reading The Hod King. Okay, so The Hod King is book 3 in the Books of Babel series, which is a fantasy series, and I have reading vlogs for book 1 and 2 in my channel that I will link in the description, and I will also link the playlist up there. And so if you have not watched those, they are there if you want to watch everything in order. And even though I didn't love book 2 as much as book 1, the ending was incredible and it made me so excited for this book. So I couldn't wait to get into this, and I was right to be excited. I'm just gonna say that before we get into it because yes. Also, I just want to say as well that there are definitely spoilers for what happens in this book, in this video. And having said that, let's just get into it. Okay, so I have read part 1 and I am on page 161, and basically they get to Pelphia, and when I say they, I mean Senlin, because he is ready to start his job as the Sphinx's spy, and he will have to basically figure out what is happening to the Sphinx's butterfly things that she uses to spy on people, because they are disappearing, especially in one specific place that I will talk about later. And so Senlin has to figure out who is destroying the butterflies, and also what is happening with Luke Marat's possible revolution. And also he's not supposed to try to contact Maria. That will be done by Volita. And so like I was saying, there is one specific place where the butterflies are going missing more than the rest of Pelphia, and that is the Colosseum, which is a place where people watch Hods fighting each other for entertainment, which first of all is horrible, and Maria's husband is one of the members of that place. And once again, Senlin is not supposed to interact. Also, he is actually a duke and not a count, like we have been thinking the whole time. And so Senlin is posing as an accountant, and one day while he's walking, he sees 2 men attacking a Hod on the street, and so he intervenes, and then the Hod actually ends up killing those 2 men, but before he runs away, he turns to Senlin and says, "Come, the Hod King," which, what? And I don't, we have no confirmation of this, but maybe, I'm thinking the Hod King might be Luke Marat, because he's the one sort of in charge of the Hod revolution. I mean, it's not the Hod's revolution, it's his revolution, and he's using Hods for his revolution. But I don't know if the Hod King is him, but it makes sense to me that it is. And so we learn that Maria is actually a famous singer now, who people in Pelphia call the Mermaid, and Senlin, against everything that he was told, actually contacts her husband, and he agrees to meet with Senlin, and so they meet. I don't remember if it was in the Colosseum or somewhere else. And basically Senlin has a proposal. He wants to manage the sale of shares of Maria's musical career. And the Duke says that, basically Maria will have to decide for herself. So Senlin has to talk to her, which, again, he is not supposed to do, but he agrees. They probably did meet in the Colosseum, because I don't know if it was after right after that, but at some point, Senlin sees John Teru, his friend from book 1, in the Colosseum, and he is one of the Hods fighting there. So afterwards, Senlin sends a letter to him, basically saying that he will help him get free if he wants help. Anyway, Senlin does go to the party or whatever where he meets the mermaid, Maria, and he has he's using some sort of costume. And I'm like, she gonna recognize his voice? And so she says that she's gonna give him some time to convince her of his proposal. And once they are alone, she reveals that, yes, she did recognize him. She knows exactly who he is. And so he tells her that he's there to rescue her if she wants to be rescued. And she says that she wants to stay there and that, she's not happy, but she's resigned, which that's sad, first of all. And it's not just about them, like the two of them, their hearts, their happiness. And I'm just like, just tell them that you have a child. And also, more on that later. So after he talks to Maria and she basically tells her husband that she's not agreeing to Senlin's proposal. Also, when I said he's posing as an accountant, he's also using a fake name. Because the Duke knows that Maria's previous husband was called Thomas Senlin. So he is, Maria is gone and Senlin is there talking to her husband. And then someone that basically Senlin made an enemy of in book 2 appears there and reveals Senlin's name. And like I said, the Duke knows who Senlin is. So he basically takes him and makes him a Hod and sends him on the Black Trail, which was also mentioned in book 2. And so before he lets Senlin go down the Black Trail, he basically tells him that he made a deal with Maria. And so he let Maria keep her child, who is actually Senlin's child. And I mean, that makes sense because it's been about a year since he entered the tower, they entered the tower, so it makes sense that it's Senlin's child. And she would be able to keep the baby if she was the perfect wife for him. And so yeah, Senlin now knows that he has a child, and there is nothing he can do about it because he's stuck in the Black Trail as a Hod. And so while he's in the Black Trail, after the Duke is gone, John Teru appears there because someone found the letters between them. So they knew he was friends with Senlin, so they sent him down the Black Trail as well. And John was actually shot, so he needs help. And they know that down there in the Black Trail, if they need help, the only person who can help is Luke Merritt, which, is not the best option, but it's the only option they have. And while they're walking, they find someone else that Senlin knew, and that's Fingol, who was his boss, who Senlin kind of stole from, so another sort of enemy. And basically Fingol tells the other Hods who Senlin is, and the other Hods know him because of the sort of fight he had with Luke Merritt in book 2. So the other Hods are also not happy with his presence there. And that is pretty much where part 1 ends. And oh my god, I feel like so much has happened in this book already. And I was on the edge of my seat for all of it because I was so excited and so nervous. And at the end I was just nervous and sad, but still, oh my god. And it was also really nice to see John Teru again because I really liked him in book 1, and he sacrificed himself for Senlin to be able to keep going through the tower. So it was nice to see him again, even though he was not in the best possible conditions. And it was also really fun to see Maria's ascension to fame, I guess, because we had a full chapter of, it was newspaper articles about her, and yeah, that was fun. And I also really liked her as a character. And obviously I hate the Duke and I want him to die in a slow and painful way. Honestly, I don't want it, I need it. And also Senlin cannot catch a fucking break. There is always something going on to destroy his life. And there was something I wanted to read that I saved here was after Senlin's talk with Maria, and he was saying, he wasn't saying, he was thinking. He had lost her one final time, not to the crowd, but to a man who appreciated her fully, boldly. A man who knew her blemishes and thought them beauty marks. Also, like, this was before he knew that the Duke was an asshole. He thought he was actually, like, a decent person. It seemed the Duke had already learned what it had taken Selin too long to discover. Intimacy was not about maintaining the idealistic charade of courtship. It was about embracing and adoring the flaws, the very things that the headmaster of Aizo had never been quite able to admit to himself. The mermaid's strange song to the children rang again in his ears. It's perfectly alright not to be perfect. A chip or a crack can be precious too. And obviously this does not make sense to Maria's situation because the Duke is a horrible person, but that was beautiful. And I am having a great time with this book, and I will update again once I read part 2. Okay, so I have finished part 2, and that means I'm on page 335. And for this part, we actually changed the POVs from like which characters we were following. And honestly, like, I love Senlin. He's a great character, but I think that this part of the book was probably my favorite part of the whole series so far, and I am obsessed. So the characters that we're following in this part are Volita and Irene. And we start with them still in the airship from the Sphinx. And basically Volita is getting lessons from Byron to basically learn how to become a lady, like behave like a lady. And because she's supposed to be pretending to be the Sphinx's granddaughter, and she is gonna be part of the like high society of Pelphia. So she is learning, she's not really learning anything from Byron, but Byron is trying to teach her, and that's like the whole thing is very funny. But then they get a message from Senlin, because Senlin went to Pelphia first, and that is after he talks to Maria. He sends the message saying that, he talked to Maria and she doesn't want to be rescued. But Volita is like, I don't buy that. She's probably just scared or being threatened, which we know is true. So Volita just being able to see the truth. And so she still wants to go talk to Maria anyway. And if she thinks that Maria really is okay, she will just leave. But if she realizes that she is not okay, she will still try to rescue her. And so they get off of the ship and into Pelphia, and Volita and Irene are introduced to the king, and then they are introduced to a lady who I want to say is called Xenia, but I don't know if that's how you say her name, and her maid, Anne. And before we move on, I just want to say that Anne and Byron are the absolute most adorable, sweetest characters in this series, and I love them with all my heart, and I would die for them. So Volita goes to a party with Xenia and Anne and Irene and all those people, and she doesn't really follow Byron's advice on how to behave, but that actually doesn't go badly because she still makes people laugh, and she kind of becomes instantaneously famous. And honestly, like, this is not the most fast-paced part of the book, especially the first part of this part. But just the banter and the cuteness and just the humor is so good that, like, I was having the best time that I had with this series. And I still loved book 1 and part 1 of this book. So it was just a whole other level. I was absolutely obsessed
And so after that, on another day, she meets, or maybe at that night, whatever, she meets the prince, the king's nephew, and he has the reputation of being a horrible person. But Volita wants to get close to him anyway because he might open the doors for her to meet Maria. And that actually happens. He gets her some tickets to go like backstage to talk to Maria, or the mermaid. And so she goes and she talks to Maria, and at first Maria is again saying that she doesn't want to leave, she's fine, like all of that. But then someone like a maid takes the baby to Maria, and now Volita knows why Maria can't leave. And after she talks to Maria, the prince tries to rape her, and like she fights him, but he shoots her. And honestly, like I'm gonna read that scene because I was just like, this is not happening. So like they were fighting and he had already shot something. And then Volita did not hear the second shot, nor did she see it, nor did she feel the bullet when it pierced her head. Then there was no room and there was no light. And then there was no her anymore. And I was like, excuse me? I literally I stopped reading for a moment. Like I was just staring at the book thinking, how dare the author do this to me? Because she is my favorite character. I was literally like, how am I supposed to continue reading this book? I could not, like my brain could not process that had just happened. I was literally just staring at the book in disbelief. But then Irene got there and she killed the prince in such an awesome way. It was so satisfying. I loved every second of that. And then she approached Volita and Volita was breathing. And I was like, how is she breathing if she was shot in the head? But, all of that aside, she just got Volita and ran to the port, like to go to her ship. But when she got there, the commissioner's ship, like the commissioner from book 1, who Senlin stole the painting from, like his ship was there and was opening fire on their ship, our people's ship. And then their ship just fell from the sky. And that is how part 2 ended, except for the part that we then got of the Black Trail with Senlin. And so with Senlin, we get him and John and Fingol, and they're like discussing what to do next. And Fingol only agrees to the other's plan after he learns that Senlin actually knows the Sphinx. And also like Senlin has like a tracking device that the Sphinx put on him. So he thinks that if he leads the Sphinx to Luke Marat, it might actually be exactly where the Sphinx wants him to be. And also I forgot to mention, but while Volita was like in the parties and with Xenia, Irene and Anne got really close, and like I was actually shipping them, and like actually the only couple I ship because Senlin and Maria weren't really together long enough for me to ship. Like I want her to be okay and I want him to be okay, but I don't really care if they're together. And like also Senlin and Edith, I also don't care. But Irene and Anne, I was shipping. But now Irene is running with Volita, who we don't even know if he's alive or not, and Anne is just in Pelfia. And so I am sad. This whole part made me, like the ending made me very sad, but at the same time, like I said, it was my favorite part of the whole series. And I love that we got to know more of Volita and Irene and even Byron, even though it was not enough of Byron, like I need more Byron in my life. But it was great to get to know those characters more, and it just only made me love them even more. And like I said, I also love Anne. Like she's so cute, she's so sweet. I just love her so much. She's so precious. And so is Byron. Also, this has nothing to actually do with this part, but it's something that I have been wondering since I started reading the book. Like, where is Adam? Because he went with those people in the roof in book 2, and like, where is he? I was so excited to see what those people were about, what they were gonna do, why they wanted to be with him, and like, where is Adam? Are we not gonna get any of him? Or is he gonna be in part 3? Yeah, I want to know what the hell is going on with Adam. Also, I just want to read the part that's like at the party when Volita was totally not behaving how Byron told her to. There was like a parrot there, and she was telling the people that the parrot was better dressed than them and like not caring. He was just like, in his skin. And so she was saying, to be fashionable, we must pretend that what looks good on the mob looks good on ourselves. And we make believe that we all look good because we are afraid of being judged ourselves. We are afraid of being singled out. But fashion doesn't change because we've discovered a better way to dress. No, it evolves to make us all feel anxious and old and out of touch. Fashion exists to exclude those who are too poor to afford it and to shame those who are indifferent to the whole fussy business. But why should we punish a parrot for our insecurities? I think he looks handsome in his blue sleeves and yellow vest. He didn't fly out and buy an orange cape just because everyone else did. He is perfectly himself, perfectly at home in his own feathers. I think he's better than fashionable. He's confident in his own beauty. And yes, period. And so, yeah, like I said a million times already, I was obsessed with this part, and it made me feel all the emotions, the good ones and the bad ones, towards the end, especially the bad ones, but I am loving this. I think like so far I would give the book 4.5 stars, but this part, 5 stars, like easily 5 stars. I am loving it, and I will update again once I finish the book.
Okay, so I finished the book, and I just want to start by saying that I was wrong in my theory. And so we change POVs again, and in this third part, we follow mostly Edith, and we start before they get to Pelphia. And basically, the Sphinx tells her that one of her wakemen that had died, like the Sphinx was able to bring him back with some liquid, and basically it brought him back to life, but he's kind of a different person because it totally changed his personality. And he used to be called the Red Hands, and he actually went after Senlin a couple times in either book 2 or book 1 to try to kill Senlin, and the last time was when he died. But so the Sphinx brought him back, and like he's a completely different person, and now he's called Reddelman, and he's actually gonna be the pilots of the ship they are in. And while they are on their way to Pelphia, they are actually boarded by pirates who want to take their ship, but they deal with them pretty quickly, and Edith was honestly so iconic, and I'm gonna read out what she said because it was truly incredible. So the last pirate, the one that had still survived, was asking them to let him go. And then Edith was like, yes, but only if you promise to spread the word for me. I want you to go to Windsock. I want you to go to Harless Cove and to Port Marrow and to the Red Cleft and any other pirate den you can worm your way into. I want you to tell them exactly what you have seen here. We do not hide when you board us. We do not die when you shoot us. We do not forget when you cross us. Edith shook him until he whimpered, then pulled him very close. Tell them the Sphinx has opened up his infernal zoo and let all his monsters out. And that was so good. So after that, the Sphinx actually takes Edith to a place to show her something that is very urgent. And basically, the tower produces energy in the form of lightning. And it has been producing a lot of lightning. And the Sphinx has been storing the excess of lightning in a reservoir, but it's getting full. And if it were to get completely full, it would create an explosion, like a massive explosion that would wipe out everything. And so if they get to the limit, they are actually gonna have to basically turn off the lightning mill, which will pretty much kill everyone in the tower because they need the power to survive, but it will not like wipe out everything. So that is concerning. So finally they get to Pelphia, and Volita and Diren go with Xenia after talking to the king like we saw in part 2, and Edith stays with the king. And she is asking him for his painting, like from that collection of 64 paintings that the Sphinx needs. And he tells her that he's gonna look for it, And after a few days of Edith asking for the painting, we actually learn that they have lost it. But anyway, in the meantime, while she's waiting to know that about the painting, Edith, is looking for Senlin because he has vanished. And we know he's in the Black Trail, but she doesn't. And so she's looking for him. She's like trailing his steps, the places he went to. And then she hears that he was last seen with the Duke in the Colosseum. And so she talks to the wakeman that works in that level of the tower, and her name is Haste, and she asks Haste to take her to the Colosseum. And so they go there, and then they actually find like a hidden library underground, and in there is a huge machine that has the Hod King written on it. And so that machine is the Hod King, not Luke Maret. That's what I was wrong about. And basically, like, that's gonna be a machine that's gonna be filled with Hods, and it can destroy the tower. And that's how Luke Maret is planning to overthrow the Sphinx. And so, after they discover that machine, Edith takes Haste to her ship. And while they are there, we learn that Haste is actually working with Luke Maret. And the thing is, I can understand both sides because the things in the tower, like, suck. They are bad. People are treated very badly. The Hods are slaves. It's obviously horrible. But the thing is, things will not be better when Luke Maret is leading. So, like, I can understand both sides, but neither of them are good, really. And so then Edith and Haste start fighting, and at the same time, the king and his men, well, mainly his men, start entering the ship as well because they want to take the Sphinx's ship. And so they all fight, and our people are incredible and iconic and just perfect, as it was obvious, and Byron is so adorable. I know I have already said this a million times, but Byron is just so precious, and we got a lot more of him in this part, and I am very grateful for that because I absolutely love him. And he was like hiding. I'm gonna read that as well if I can find it. He was hiding because he was afraid of the fights, but then he was realizing something. But as he cowered with his back wedged in a corner, a new fear began to grow inside him. It grew so large, in fact, it eclipsed even his mortal terror. Because there was one thing worse than dying, and that was living to see a bleak future. Did he really wish to survive if Edith perished? Did he want to be the last man left alive? Did he want to be taken prisoner, interrogated, tortured, or worse, put on display, flogged to the public, treated as a monstrous curiosity for the rest of his life? Was a quick death in defense of his friends not preferable to a long life of suffering and humiliation? And so he decided to go join the fight. He didn't really get there in time to do much, but I just love him, and he is perfect. So, at the end of part 2, we saw Iran taking Volita to the ship and then getting to the port. Trying to get to the ship and getting to the port, and it was chaos. And this was the part where it was a chaos, like the fight in the ship. And so, like, she actually manages to get inside the ship, but Volita is dead. But Rattleman says that he might be able to bring her back just like he was brought back with that fluid. And so he injects the whatever liquid that is into Volita. And like I said, it changed him, like it totally changed his personality. And in his case, it was a good thing because the Red Hand was ruthless, vicious, a monster, and now he's not. So it was a good. But for Volita, if it completely changes who she is, might not be good. We also see Edith going back into the city, and she rescues Maria and the baby, and then we also see Anne getting to the ship, and she's no longer working for Xenia, so she asks if she can basically join their crew, and she does, and they all leave Pelphia, and Byron and Anne are like becoming friends, and that makes sense because they are the two most precious characters in this series, and I just love them, and that is adorable. And at the end, we see Volita waking up, and then we move on to the Black Trail where Senlin is, and John, and Fingal get to Luke Marat, and they basically agree, and it's not like really they have much of a choice, to be part of the Hod King, to be inside of the Hod King to fight against the Sphinx, and that is how this book ended, and I absolutely loved it, and let's just go into my final thoughts. So, like I said, I absolutely loved this book, and I really liked the fact that we got to follow different POVs for each part of the book, and even though I continue to love Senlin and his journey, I think that his part was the one I liked the least, even though I still really, really enjoyed it. And so I really liked to, like I said, follow other characters because I feel like we got to know them a lot better, because in the other books, we mainly followed Senlin, and sometimes we got POVs from other characters, but it was not a lot. And so in this book, we really got to know more characters on a deeper level, which I really enjoyed. And like I have said a million times, Byron and Anne are so precious and they need to be protected at all costs. I also still really, really love Irene and Edith. They are both incredible. And Volita, I think, is still my favorite character. She is just so iconic, and she's badass, and she's also really, really funny. And I'm really happy that she's alive, and we still don't know in what state she's in, or if she's gonna be a completely different person like the Rattleman, but either way, I'm just glad that she's alive, because I did have a little breakdown when I thought she was dead. Also, I really like to see as well like what happened to Maria, how she became famous, and just her life, like how it was. And I'm happy that she and her daughter are with our people now. And also, I really enjoyed as well to see people from previous books like John Theroux. Fingal, not as much because I don't like him, but it was interesting either way. And yeah, I really like to see John again. And in terms of the pacing, it was not like the most fast-paced book I've ever read, but the humor and the cuteness and the banter just made up for the parts where it wasn't like extremely fast-paced, because I just love it and I love the characters, which I guess is the reason why I didn't mind if like it wasn't extremely fast-paced, even though it was definitely faster-paced than book 2. Also, the fight scene there were a couple, but the final fight scene in the ship with our crew and the people who were trying to invade them and the other Wakeman haste, like that was so good. I loved every second of it. And something else that I really loved was when Irene killed the prince, because that was just so satisfying. I was just like so happy when that happened. Yeah, it was one of the most satisfying scenes in this series, for sure. And like if I have to complain about something in this book, and I guess I do, is that we didn't get to see what Adam is up to. And in book 2, I was like super excited to see what was going to happen to him after he went with those people. And so I really wanted to have gotten a little bit of that in this book, and I'm sad that we didn't, but I know that we're obviously gonna get it in book 4, so that's fine. And speaking of book 4, I cannot wait to read it because I just know it's gonna be insane, and I am so excited for it. But anyway, I gave this book 4.5 stars. I really, really enjoyed it. And so this is everything for this week's video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, give it a like and subscribe, and I will talk to you next time. Bye!